កម្មវិធីកិច្ចសន្ទនាកម្ពុជានិងពិភពលោក
Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, welcome again to the Cambodia Global Dialogue Southeast Asia TV. Tonight we're gonna talk on fintech, and I'm not much of fintech. I'm just a lawyer, but what I'll try to do today is to learn as much as I can from our two panel speaker. But for me, I think the trend is here: the fourth industrial revolution. We are in ASEAN. The World Economic Forum was here. I attended the Bao Forum of Asia. I mean, the talk of the town now, it's all about fintech. And I'm so glad that Cambodia, a local organization, is organizing an event in Cambodia on fintech. And I managed to have two prominent speakers who knows about fintech. So let's have a good conversation, and I hope you can all learn something and put to good use. So, Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
Yes. Kirat, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Anyway, before we start, I'd like to give both of you a few minutes to introduce yourself a bit.
Sure. So, very happy to start. So, my name is Brad Jones. I'm currently the Chief Executive Officer of a company called Wave Money, based in Myanmar. Wave Money is a fintech company. We're doing money transfer, digital payments, bill payments, moving into e-commerce. We're currently across 12,000 locations. We cover about 75% of Myanmar, which is a very big country. But it's a very great pleasure to be back in Phnom Penh.
You mentioned you'd be back, meaning you were here before, right?
Indeed, yeah. So I started my fintech career about 10 years ago in Cambodia.
Really?
I was the founding managing director of Wing Cambodia.
Wow.
Which is, and so it makes me very proud to come back to Cambodia to see how successful Wing is, because it's certainly, I think, from a global perspective, Wing is definitely a success story when it comes to fintech and mobile money. It's fantastic to see it flourishing, and also the other companies that have sprouted out as competitors to Wing. I think has been very interesting.
What is the expression they say that when is the best flattery when somebody imitates you? You know.
I think imitation is
the greatest form of flattery.
The best form of flattery.
Okay. Good. Well, Kirat, young entrepreneur. I heard a lot about you. In terms of you designing some special accounting software. But anyway, please.
Thank you very much. Also an honor to be here this morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm Kirat, founder of Banji. Banji
in Khmer would be Banji, right?
Yeah, in Khmer Banji. And also in Thai and Laos, it also means similar thing. It's accounting.
Yes.
So Banji is a free online accounting software.
Okay.
We call ourselves also a fintech company.
Okay.
Because we are not in the business of selling accounting software.
Okay.
We are helping SME access to finance. Using their transactional data that record in the accounting to access to financing.
Okay.
So we were selected as a top 10 fintech in Asia by Star Bootcamp in 2016. So Banji is a Cambodian company, but it is in Singapore.
Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. Well, keep it up. And but anyway, tell me about the event that you're gonna be speaking.
So Inspire ASEAN
Yes.
is the organisation that's brought the event together. So it's the first time I've spoken at one of their events, but they certainly look very interesting. They've got a great list of speakers.
Yes.
I think it's sponsored by PPay, which is a very interesting fintech company that seems to be emerging in Cambodia currently. So for me, it's a fantastic opportunity to come back and have a look at what's actually happening in the Cambodian fintech sector. I think certainly in the developing markets in ASEAN, I think Cambodia is sort of one step ahead of many of the other countries. So I think, I'm really interested to see what's there today.
Yeah. So I think from your perspective, being a local Cambodian entrepreneur, fintech, how do you see the development of the industry?
The industry, like what you said, is like Cambodia when people looking from outside, especially from Singapore, so Cambodia is just a very small country. But this year, ADB, MBI,
Yes.
to be specific,
Yes.
is an arm of ADB, commissioned me to study Fintech in Cambodia. And what we see is there's more, in terms of payment, there's more than close to 15 companies that are doing payment in Cambodia.
Good.
But we look from outside, it's like Cambodia is just a small country, and the technology should not be that advanced or something like that. But when we did the study, is that we find out that more than 15 companies are doing payment and rely on technology. And in total, close to more than 20 companies. I need to get the exact number, but it's more than 20 companies doing fintech in Cambodia. But it's just that what we observe is more on the corporate type of investment rather than a startup. Less than 5 companies are doing a startup in Cambodia. You know, like me, we call ourselves as a startup. So we start from something small, and then we want to get it bigger. We already get into Lao market, so we expand into Lao.
That's great. That's great.
But it's just it's very promising. But one thing we can say is that fintech will not disrupt anything in Cambodia because there's nothing to disrupt. So it's about helping the development of the financial sector.
I think what you mentioned is quite interesting because, in fact, I recall, I was negotiating the WTO, right? And at a time when the country was pretty much struggling to open up our economy, and we joined WTO, we liberalized the thing, and in the financial sector, we probably were the first, mover to take advantage of this economic policy to liberalize the economy. And I recall a few times when I have to make a pitch, to the government, in terms of opening up the sector, the smartphone, the mobile telephony. At that time, it take 2 months to get the fixed line, right? And I was a vice minister at that time. I said, okay, it will take 2 months to get a fixed line to put a fax. My God! But why don't we shift now with the advent of a mobile telephony, which is not that advanced now, but even those days it was a major leap, ahead of the curve. And my view at that time was that when you are a late comer, right, there are the advantage of the first comer, but many times there's also the advantage of the late comer, that you can skip the learning curve. And digital is probably that, that mean for us to skip the learning curve and catch up with neighbor. And I'm glad to see that you all are, in fact, are pioneering. You have pioneered that. You come late, but in no time we probably should be able to attract our other. Yesterday I met a big investor who mentioned that they are interested to set up a sort of Cambodian mini Silicon Valley. I mean, that thought would, if the guy mentioned 10 years ago, I would say you're a bit off, But now it's like, so what? We have software engineer. I mean, you have people who design app. I mean, these kids are awesome. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I think it's very, very true. I think if I look at setting up Wing 10 years ago in Cambodia, we were setting up a mobile payments business in a country that really only then had about 30-40% penetration of feature phones. I mean, the year we developed Wing was the year the iPhone was launched.
Yes.
So this is really at the start of the smartphone revolution. So we only had feature phones. Feature phones you couldn't have camera Unicode.
What is the feature phone?
So like the old Nokia
button.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So then the very cheap phones, but there was no Khmer Unicode at that stage.
Yes.
So we couldn't even offer a service in Khmer on those cheap phones. It was an extremely difficult service to launch, just because the technology just wasn't ready. I think if you fast forward now to what I'm doing in Myanmar, Myanmar is 80% smartphone penetration. Around 65% of consumers are using data on a regular basis. The data usage is larger than Thailand and Malaysia.
Wow.
And the platform that gives you to actually create very intuitive customer experiences and to build a service that's in local language that has been designed with the consumer in mind, it's extraordinary. So I think Cambodia very much is. I mean, the smartphone penetration still isn't as high in Cambodia, but that's going to change in the next couple of years. And I actually really think that fintech companies and entrepreneurs should be starting to plan for that digital shift that Cambodia is already going through.
In your sector, where you have to work quite a bit with the young software app, like technician, engineer, whatever. What's your view on that?
It's very difficult to recruit. They also call engineer.
Yes.
So software developer.
Yeah, software developer. Yeah, more like developer.
So because the technology they advance very fast, and also technology provides us the same playing field with the bigger guy. So we need an engineer who understand the development, also understanding the new programming language and all that. It's very difficult, and also it's hard to retain. So it's about the difficult part is to recruit them, compete with the bigger guy, and when we recruit them, we also it's hard to retain them.
But where do these young app developer study, or do we have a school here?
Mostly in Cambodia.
Mostly in Cambodia. Yeah. Interesting.
They study in university, but most of the thing they study outside the university.
I see.
There's a short course, and also they're doing internship in various companies, so they learn that type of language. But just the trend now, those tech guys tend to work for themselves rather than to work for others.
Hey, that's the entrepreneur spirit.
Yeah, that is a good thing as well.
Yeah. We're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna look a bit more from how the industry, perhaps you have a good perspective from the Cambodian and Myanmar, and it'd be good to benchmark a bit how things fit. All right. Yeah, it's fine. Brad, Myanmar have pretty much opened up as recent as when Cambodia was the chair ASEAN 2012. That's when they start to open up, and ASEAN really embrace them. In the last 5 years, have you seen the development of this fintech, this IT, as one of their drivers?
I would say certainly that's the case. I think the big accelerator in Myanmar has been the opening up of the telecommunications sector. I remember back in Cambodia in 2008, there were 8 mobile operators in this market. And I know that's rationalised a lot now, but if you look back to 2012 in Myanmar, there was 1 mobile operator. SIM cards were costing around $300 per SIM card. So the average person in Myanmar really had no ability to actually own a mobile phone. The government ran a very transparent and open process and brought in 2 foreign operators, one of whom is a shareholder in my company, Telenor Group, and the second one being Orbi.
Yeah, Telenor is what company? It's from what country?
It's Norwegian.
Oh, Norwegian.
So,
okay.
They operate extensively throughout Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
Those two operators have sort of revolutionised the market. So you now have mobile penetration pushing up north of 90%. The price of a SIM card came down to $1.50.
From $300.
From $300, yeah. So I think everyone has a SIM card, and certainly everyone has a smartphone. I think the smartphone, that to me is the really interesting thing about the Myanmar market, is that smartphone penetration has accelerated extremely quickly. So what that's doing, it's providing a platform for entrepreneurs. So there's been accelerators and incubators that have been created with donor funding in most cases, and what they're doing is really creating that next wave of entrepreneurs, of young Myanmar people who are software engineers and so on, who are developing very interesting platforms. There's a freelancing platform that's been created. One of the entrepreneurs that we're seeing come out is producing online comic books. He's just received investment from Singapore. So not so much in fintech. I think fintech in Myanmar has been really driven by the mobile operators and some of the banks. So it's probably where Cambodia was about 4 or 5 years ago. So I think what I would like to see, though, is as the rails start to get laid down by companies like ours, is you start to see fintech solutions coming in to ride on top of those rails. And that's certainly something we encourage in these incubators and accelerators is for companies to think about how they can leverage the capabilities and the rails that we're laying down to offer their services.
But in the Cambodia context, who is laying the rail?
Well, I mean, if you look at, certainly at Wing, I mean, they're probably the biggest footprint. I know there's a lot more competition in the market now.
Smart is a big telecom operator here.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure they have a good infrastructure.
They have a good infrastructure. They have good management, certainly running their mobile money.
4G now. We're in 4G now.
They also have a fintech.
Yes.
Smart Loan.
Yes, exactly.
They also have smart.
Now let me qualify a bit. When you guys talk about fintech, you only talk about anything related to money, right?
Pretty much. I mean, I see fintech as really a number of different things. It's if you look at the value chain of financial services, it's actually looking at where disintermediation can actually happen in different elements of the value chain. So, if banks are doing payments, if you look at Wing, for example, and what we do in Myanmar, banks and informal sources were doing payments, money going back on taxis and so on. Companies like Wing and Wave have made that a far more easy and convenient process. So it really disintermediated the informal sector. So I think if you look at various different elements, I think what you're doing is really disintermediating the lending sector by creating better lending decisions through better information.
So you sort of facilitating the decision-making process of a lender, no?
So in Cambodia, what I said earlier, the dominant part now is in payment, but we see the emerging on the lending space. We have the first peer-to-peer lending in Cambodia run by Cambodia Investor Club.
Yeah.
And now there's a new one coming in from US. They also have operation in Vietnam called QPay.
Yes.
Which is invoice discounting. So we're partnering with both of them to provide data for them to provide lending.
Okay.
But we also see on the loan comparison side. So fintech is not really all about money, but it's also facilitating the decision toward that. And insurtech.
Oh yes.
It's also now it's emerging of insurtech, getting away from fintech. But when we talk about fintech, insurance. Insurtech also part of the fintech.
But I remember I was talking to some of your friends and who are trying to pitch what the thing that you're doing with the tax department, so that they provide a more simplified version of a tax for small and medium enterprise. And it seems that the tax department is quite happy with your system, no?
There's a company that we're working, partnering with them. They're designing a tax filing platform that will extract the data from our accounting software to file to the tax department. As of now, I'm not sure whether they already talked to the tax department. But we present our solution to the Ministry of Economy and Finance already.
So the way I see is that at some point, the so-called ecosystem of the fintech will be quite elaborate, right? And it should be sort of like what the word is interoperability.
Correct.
What do you see there in Myanmar, for example?
So in Myanmar, I think a little bit different to what's happened in Cambodia is the regulator, and one of the important things about fintech, never to forget, is the view of the regulator as well, and whether the regulator is enabling fintech or slowing it down. I think in both Myanmar and Cambodia, I think the regulator is actually enabling fintech. But one of the things the regulator has done in Myanmar is they haven't mandated interoperability, but they've strongly encouraged that in the fintech regulations that were released. So I know ourselves and the other mobile operators have already had conversations about how we create almost like a mobile operator interconnect, so that money can be transferred from Wave Money to Ooredoo and to NPC, the other provider. I think that's very important. I actually think, the biggest enemy, the biggest competitor we actually have in Myanmar currently is cash. There is so much cash.
Oh, you mean cash?
Exactly. So what we're trying to do is take cash out of the economy and digitizing that.
You know that in the dollar, if you look at the thing, say, there's a word, say, in God we trust. Below, other pay cash.
Yeah.
It's a joke.
in Cambodia, recently, there's a new bracket from the National Bank.
Yes.
On the payment service provider.
Yes.
Previously, Wing were not able to get that, but now it's opened up a lot to other new payment service provider companies. And National Bank also this year organized, they call Fintech Awareness Forum.
Okay.
Bringing different fintech players,
Yes.
also from the region, to discuss what should Cambodia do in the future. So Ministry of Economy and Finance and the National Bank also get very interested into this fintech.
Yes.
And in Cambodia, we also have a informal group of fintechs.
Okay.
Kind of founders, CEOs. So
You guys have an association here?
not really an association, but it's just a
grouping.
A grouping. Yeah,
Right,
we met twice already. So, but the idea is that how can we help the regulator?
Yes.
Providing the perspective from our side as a practitioner and also the one who on the ground to the regulator.
What in terms of a national ecosystem? Okay, we have the regulator, of course. You are the operator. What are the things that you think Cambodia should be pushing hard so that we can at some point claim to say, look, guys, you invest in fintech in Cambodia, we have the whole ecosystem. What is missing here?
It's hard to say what really missing, but what we see is that the population under 25 is very promising.
Yes.
More than 50%.
Yes.
So the adoption rate is high.
Yes.
And the infrastructure from the telecom will play a major role here. It's about the consumer being helped already lay the ground for others to come in. But for the SME part, the SME for the small and medium enterprise to really understand fintech and leverage fintech to improve the business, that is the challenge. It's from the consumer side.
Yes, yeah.
People talk about the regulator will interfere and all, but in Cambodia, they have been very good. They allow us to operate and see how can.
Oh, they will catch up later. When they understand better.
They catch up later. So it's about working with the consumer, and from our side, we see there's a lot of promise in the small and medium enterprise sector.
Yes.
It's a national priority, and also it's about the development of the SME, and fintech can play a significant role there.
Yes.
But the understanding of the SME in terms of leveraging fintech, that's a difficult part.
I think we're talking about moving from consumer level to the business or here, not a corporate, but more like entrepreneurial level, right? But the fact that they are so used to use as a person, as an individual, perhaps the ability to play around with the smartphone, the step to go the next step probably less painful. No?
I think that's certainly a case in Myanmar. Digital penetration is very high. Digital literacy not so high. And I think this is one of the challenges, and it sounds like Cambodia has the same problem. So data usage is very, very high in Myanmar, but it's all on Facebook.
4 something million in Cambodia. Facebook.
Okay.
So I think fintech providers definitely have a job to do to actually educate consumers.
All right. We're going to take a short break. When we come back, I want to focus quite a bit on this awareness aspect, on this, educational side of it. Because ultimately, the more educated they are, the better. Not everything is all about Facebook. Right. I mean, the problem with emerging economy, and 20 years ago we are post-crisis, right? We graduate from the post-crisis. Now we are being sort of like labeled as emerging. So it's always a learning curve, each step, right? And I find, as the economy moves up in many different fields, there's always this gap in between, which is how do we know, what's the next step, right? And then the next step came, and we realized we're doing it already. But not everybody's doing it. So educational awareness is quite a big issue that I think, because the technology is moving so fast, the economy is moving so fast. I take, for example, who would have thought, or at least you wouldn't have thought 10 years ago, to see the landscape of Phnom Penh from a horizontal, now you look at there on the river side, we're going vertical now.
Yeah.
For most of people, they say, real estate is a villa. At most, it's a 4-story high, right? what is the legal issue? No big deal, right? A developer, no big deal. Now you're dealing with multi-use. There's condo, there's a parking, there are mixed use, there are retail, there are movie. Very different. How do you educate people and say, look, real estate is not all about apartment building. But in your sector, fintech, how do you think you're going to go about building more awareness so that you can help move from the pure consumerism to a more entrepreneurial level, and ultimately at the corporate level?
It's also it's about working on the education level, on the university, building from the ground up.
Okay.
So it's about letting people understand what is fintech at the university level, and also working in partnership with various business associations. That how can they leverage fintech to improve their business. But the main thing is about the investment in fintech. People, for startup, it's very difficult for Cambodian fintech startup to raise funds because the market size is not attractive for the investor, and people tend to think that Cambodian fintech are kind of imitated, imitate from somewhere somewhere that is already developed.
Yes.
But yes, of course, we taking something that is already successful and cover.
Why reinvent the wheel?
Yeah. But it's just that when I talk with various investors, they said, where is your primary market? And when I tell them that Cambodia will be the first primary market, it's not interesting because
it's too small.
So moving beyond that, but Cambodia would be an interesting place to pilot the project because it's kind of dynamic and also represents similarly. You might be the best person to tell whether if something successful in Cambodia also can be in Myanmar and
can
also
be replicated. The beauty is that since for last 2 years we have become a ASEAN community, ASEAN economic community. It's not totally free, but the degree of movement of labor, of movement of capital, movement of investment is there. It's clear. And Brad, you just told me that there are many Cambodians who are also working in Myanmar. And you mentioned yourself that you're now moving into Laos. So I think we have to start repositioning Cambodia that, at least me anyway, when I go out there, I say, look, for the last 2 years, we're still a small 50 million Cambodia, but we are one of the gateway to a ASEAN 600 million market. Right? I still claim Cambodia as a country, but when I present as a market, I say we are gateway. We are one of the gateway. You used to come through Bangkok or Singapore. Now you can come through us. And the beauty, Brad, I can tell you this. The beauty is that WTO commitment to liberalize, all this sector, to allow foreign 100% ownership on many, sector is probably the best attraction for investors to say, look, if I sit on the board of a big company, the first 2 things before I help support a proposal will say, look, hey, how much control we have on our own company? And number 2, can we repatriate our money back when we make the money? I cannot say that in some country in ASEAN because it's like Hotel California. You can check in anytime you like, you can never check out your profit.
Yeah, I think, Cambodia for me is a talent factor. I think, as I mentioned to you earlier, my CFO in Wave Money has been Cambodian. She was Sraybiti Nuon, who was the first CFO of Wing and then ANZ Royal for many years. I keep running into Cambodians throughout Myanmar in the telco sector, the finance sector, and that actually says to me that the training and the education that a lot of Cambodians have had in international companies here over the last 10, 15 years has set them up very well. I think that goes for innovation as well. I actually strongly believe that Cambodia is one of the world's mobile money success stories that not enough people talk about. So everyone talks about Kenya, everyone talks about Bangladesh. I think because Cambodia is a small country, it doesn't get a lot of discussion, and it really should. The last point I would make is really around investment. I talk to investors and I talk to the startups that are emerging out of Myanmar, and to Kirurok's point, what they're looking for is ideas that can scale beyond the borders of that country and go through Asia. So the message I would have really for Cambodian entrepreneurs is very much pilot what you're doing in Cambodia and treat it as an innovation hub, which I think it's emerging, but have plans on how you can scale outside the boundaries of Cambodia.
That's very important. This week, we have a group of young tech who will go to US, supported by the US government. And the ambassador asked us, what should we pitch about Cambodia? So all of us agree that we should pitch that Cambodia is an innovation hub. It's a place that they can really understand the new technology, new innovation before they scale to the rest of ASEAN. It's like what you said, it's about the gateway. Bring new technology here, test it, because the adoption rate could be very high, and you can test the environment in a safer environment, and then you can scale across the region. So that's
I was mentioning to Brad earlier that one of the exciting thing I think about Cambodia, and I think we all travel so much in so many parts around the world. You go to some country, you get off the airplane, you don't feel the excitement. In Cambodia, you get off the airport, from the airport to downtown, you feel somebody is doing something. Somebody is selling something. Somebody is promoting something. Entrepreneurship is thriving here. And that's on one side, right? That's a human spirit there. Then on the other side, you have a very open government who believe in open market, who believe in sort of like entrepreneurship as well. And that's why when you combine the two, it's really the sky's the limit. Because, look, at some point the regulator will come, believe me, right? But at least now, if you have a good idea, more than likely they will support you, right? They may not know how to regulate it yet, unless it's really a national security issue, that sort of thing, right? But otherwise, pure business, dimension, more than likely they support. And that's why I'm not surprised why your Fintech, why your the association ICT is thriving. It's because of that openness in policy.
Yeah, I think certainly that's been my experience in Cambodia. 10 years ago, we worked with the Central Bank, the National Bank of Cambodia, His Excellency Chia Chanto, and we were given permission to actually launch Wing Cambodia without regulations in place. And we did that because we were very open and transparent around how risk management was done, how anti-money laundering and KYC was done. And it was a collaboration really with the National Bank of Cambodia to enable that. And I think that was very, very positive. And I think Cambodia really, this is part of the reason why Cambodia is so far ahead when you look at mobile money and fintech, is because you've had a regulator that has actually very much enabled the sector to grow.
Well, I mean, I recently the Senior Minister of Public Works and Transport, Excellency Sun Chantal, has worked closely with Uber to launch this ride sharing. So you see, these are the sort of things that put Cambodia on the map in a way. Because when you're a latecomer, if you are daring a bit, if you look at what is the latest thing out there in the market, right? I think by now, most of the people I know, nobody carry a computer anymore. We have, what is the tablet and everything. And you go to some country, I can tell you, I walk to their office, they still have this big screen there. Of course, the screen is big, but the size of that monitor is that big. So I say, come on, man, it's so cheap now. He said, well, according to the accounting book, we need another 3 years to amortize it. So they just have to use it for the next 3 years. But that sort of thing, we don't have to buy this big monitor, right? Use that. Anyway, we're running out of time and we have a few minutes left. Maybe I ask each one of you to have a few words. What's the last message to the audience?
My last message really is, as I mentioned before, is that I think Cambodia has done very, very well in the fintech space over the last 10 years. I think Cambodia has the talent, it has the young population who are educated, who are ambitious. Every single Cambodian I know has a second business, they're entrepreneurial. So I'd really like to see the fintech sector continue to develop and see Cambodia as one of the leading innovation hubs in developing Asia.
Raj?
What we see is that according to ADB report this year, if Cambodia fully adopt digital financing, it will significantly contribute around 6% of the economy.
Wow.
In terms of GDP.
Yeah.
Because in terms of payment, saving, insurance, all of this will significantly contribute when all of us really put our heart and all our effort to move into the digital financing.
Wow.
And that I'm very excited to see it.
6%.
6%. Like they said, that is an estimate. That's what they put. That's a big number that we see in the report. It's like, how can we do that? But the calculation come out is like, that is interesting. How can we work together to achieve that level?
Right. Yeah. Well, gentlemen, I think we for a short 45-minute conversation, I think there's a lot of things that came out, and I'm glad, Brad, that you have covered Myanmar also, because Myanmar is a new country in terms of a player. You know, Cambodia is a little bit not so new, but we're still in that same sort of like a category that we have come out of difficult years, rebuilding the economy, opening up to the world. So there's a lot of experience we can learn from each other. The fact that you used to be here, start Wing, and then now you take that experience there. Now you're coming back to share some of that. Rod, as a young fintech, a young entrepreneur, coming with new idea, winning prize in the region. This is great. And to me, I'm not going to bother summarizing what we discussed. Just to say that we're on the right track. And I hope you guys continue to push that sector. Because from economic perspective, if ADB assessment is turn out to be a reality, plus or minus 1%, okay? It could be 7%, it could be 5%. It doesn't matter. It's 5% of GDP. Can you imagine the enormity of the impact on our local economy? So, gentlemen, thank you so much. Okay, and good luck for your event this afternoon.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Rod, good. Good. All right, we're coming to the end of the show, and I hope you all learned something. And believe me, start learning more on fintech. Okay. Good night.